There you go.
Disco. I now call to order the April 12th, 2018 regular meeting of the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission to order. Welcome to the regular meeting. I'd like to take a moment to explain the order of the meeting, specifically as it relates to the hearing of the applications on tonight's agenda. Each case will be called, and we'll first hear the staff presentation and recommendations. Following this, the commissioners who serve on the review committee will present their observations and recommendations. At this point, the applicant will have an opportunity to step forward and provide any comments or additional information about the application. Once the applicant has finished, members of the public who wish to provide comments on the current case may do so, while please noting the time limit of 3 minutes per person. Everyone who steps forward will need to state their name aloud for the record and sign in at the sheet located at the podium, and limit their comments to the application in hand. Following any public comment, the applicant may be called back to the podium to rebut any public comments and answer questions that the commission may have. Once all the questions have been answered, the hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate the application, make a motion, have a discussion, and then vote. If any members of the public would like to speak to general preservation topics and not to any specific application, opportunities provided during the audience participation public commentary following the approval of the agenda. Everyone who would like to address the commission may do so and will be asked to state their name aloud for the record and sign in at the front podium. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Your comments are valuable to the commission. I would now like to introduce the commissioners. We have Max Cope down there. No, Max is not here. Evan Hall is here, right down there. David Rockland's right here. This is staff Jill Thatcher. I'm John Beeson. We have Bob White and Anna Epperson. All right. What's next? Ms. Thatcher, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Beeson.
Here.
Commissioner Cope. Commissioner Epperson. Commissioner Hall.
Here.
Commissioner Quijano. Commissioner Rockland.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Thatcher. Now, are there any additions? We're moving on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
Yeah, I think I propose an addition to the agenda.
Okay.
Unless it's been done already or no?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
We got a message from the Michigan Historic Preservation Network about, let me just see my notes here, hold on. They have requested the Historic District Commission to request City Council to consider a Michigan Historic Tax Credit resolution that's being put before the state.
G3.
Okay, and this is probably going to be added as G3. I'm going to write it down as MHPN tax credit resolution. That's probably in our packet.
Yeah.
My pen is done. All right. Do we need to make a motion on that?
No.
Okay. Are there any other deletions or changes to the agenda? All right, hearing and seeing no objection, the agenda is approved as amended. All right, next part is audience participation. Do we have any members of the public who would like to come forward and speak about historic preservation topics that are not on the agenda? All right, seeing nobody. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business E. There is no unfinished business. Then we move on to the hearings, starting in F1. This is 204 East Washington Street, new business sign, Ms. Thatcher.
This building was originally built in 1868 and occupied by carpenter Conrad Krapf and Jake Kettner's Saloon. It's unclear whether the entire building or just the facade was rebuilt in the 1960s to its current appearance. It is a non-contributing structure. It's on the south side of West Washington, east of South 4th and west of South 5th, and the applicant is seeking HDC approval to install a new 72-inch tall by 24-inch deep two-sided banner sign aligned with the second floor window. This is the area where the sign is proposed to go. Couple of photos. There's not much signage on this block now. There's not a whole lot to align a sign with, but aligning it with this window right here is a perfectly sensible thing to do. Looking east on the block, you see a Swisher commercial sign. There's a sign here, and way down there's an Aventura sign or two. We're talking about right over here. And then there's one T-Mobile sign that would be comparable to where this sign is proposed to go. Here it is, 72 by 24. Name of the business is Drought. a couple of rod pockets sticking out that are mounted into mortar joints. That was clarified by the applicant. There's what it would look like on the building, matches the height and alignment of that second floor window. Style's not traditional, but neither is the building. From the Secretary of Interior standards, the standards that best apply are 2, which says the historic character of a property will be retained and preserved. The removal of distinctive materials or alteration of features, spaces, and spatial relationships that characterize a property will be avoided. 9 says that new additions, exterior alterations, or related new construction shall not destroy historic materials that characterize the work. The new work shall be differentiated from the old and shall be compatible with the massing, size, scale, and architectural features to protect the historic integrity of the property and its environment. And number 10 says new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property will be unimpaired. From the Secretary of Interior's guidelines for storefronts, not recommended is using inappropriately scaled signs or logos or other types of signs that obscure, damage, or destroy remaining character-defining features of the historic building, which this building does not have on the front. From the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines, it's appropriate to attach signage through masonry joints and to install signage that's compatible in size, style, materials, and appearance to the historic resource and district. Mostly what we're looking at with this sign proposal is to make sure that it does not detract from the historic resources on either side of it. I think it fits in just fine with the building and with its neighbors. Staff is recommending approval, believes the sign is appropriate and meets the standards and guidelines that are appropriate for this. Thank you.
Who is on the review committee? All right. Would you guys like to give the report and recommendation?
Yes, I completely agree with the staff's assessment. It's very straightforward and had no issue. Sorry, the mic is not on. There you go. I agree with the staff's findings. It doesn't distract and it's appropriate. I have nothing further to add.
Commissioner Wright?
I agree with Ms. Thatcher and Commissioner Hall, and I don't have any more to add.
All right. Would the applicant please come forward, provide your name for the record, and sign in?
Brad Warden.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Do you have anything to add to the staff report? Review committee?
No, any questions on it? But no, it is pretty straightforward and utilitarian, but that's kind of what the client's looking for.
Yeah. Commissioners have any questions about the application?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, okay. I just have a question about the mounting
Yes.
of this sign. I realize, and I think it's great, the intention to mount it in the mortar joints. And then I also saw in the packet that you wish to align the sign with the second story window.
Correct.
Which I also think is the correct thing to do, but I'm maybe concerned or skeptical that those two might be in conflict unless you have a custom plate that you're going to use. And that's my question, if you could show us the plate and
I don't have the plate with me.
Okay,
We
well,
have to
I guess
actually-
just describe it and-
We actually have to measure. This is the actual bracket,
Yeah.
spring-loaded so it'll dump wind and not have to worry about the attachment.
Right.
What we're gonna do is take a rubbing of the bricks themselves
Okay.
and then fabricate a plate.
custom plate, got it.
Yeah, so we can actually hit the mortar joints rather than go through the CMU.
Well, that was my only concern, and that was a great explanation, so thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else?
Any other questions? All right, we'll move on to the public hearing. I think you can be seated at this point, but I think so, yeah. Moving on to the public hearing, are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this agenda item? Nope. All right, and then commissioners, no more questions. I will now close the public hearing portion of the application, and here you definitely can be seated, I think. And then, were there any commissioners who'd like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Rowland?
Commissioner Epperson.
Commissioner
I'll do it,
Estes?
yeah.
Get the next one.
Okay.
I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 204 East Washington Street, a contributing property in the Main Street Historic District, to install new 72-inch by 24-inch banner sign as proposed. The work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the rest of the building and the surrounding area, and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District guidelines for storefronts and signs, and the Secretary of the Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular standards 2, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for storefronts.
Support.
Seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, let's move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries. Your application has been approved, and you will receive written notification from staff. Please note that you must apply for any required permits from the city before beginning your project.
Wait for the approval and then go ahead and apply? Okay.
No, you don't have to wait now.
No? Okay.
You can go ahead and turn in your sign permit application, and I'll be able to sign off on it tomorrow.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
No more business for me then?
Nope,
correct.
you're
Perfect,
done.
thank you very much.
Good. All right, now on to hearing F2.
F2 is 910 West Huron Street. It's in the Old West Side Historic District. Commissioners, you're going to have to listen carefully while I explain this one. There was some confusion over what was being requested by the contractor versus what was being represented by the owner. It's now clear in my head, and I've got it written in a series of emails, and I'm going to relay to you what specifically they're asking for. It's not exactly what's in the packet.
The packet is not reflecting.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So watch the PowerPoint. Here's the house, 910 West Huron. It's a lovely little single-family rental, and the basement was finished without permits, and now we're backtracking and trying to get the basement to be legally habitable by putting an egress window in a basement. You can see that this is the driveway side of the house. This is the east side. We're concerned with the west side. And yes, it was snowing on Monday when the review committee was out. This I'm standing just off of the sidewalk in the front yard looking down the side of the house. Here's a little more angled view. Note that there are currently 2 windows on this wall. This one leads into an interior bathroom. This one is underneath a bay window. Neither of these are suitable as an egress window because they won't be approved by the building department because they're either in a separate room or underneath something that will make it difficult for emergency egress. So the petitioner is proposing to add a 3rd basement window on this wall in between these 2 existing windows. So this is the area where the wall would go. This is a sculpted block basement with lovely raised bead mortar joints. The proposed window that they'd like to use is the same width as these 2 glass block windows. Obviously, these are not historic windows, and I believe that the openings have been made larger also. So the window that they would be proposing is proportionate in width and deeper with a window well to accommodate the egress window. Again, this was in the packet showing where it would be. It's halfway in between those 2 windows. On the inside of the house, this is the window that's underneath the bay. Looks great from the inside, but can't be used for this purpose. The other window is in this bathroom. So it's just an unfortunate layout from the interior perspective. This is an example photo of a window. This is not, though, they're not going to use a window with glass blocks on the top, but this is just one that's installed. You can see the inside of the window well with a little ladder going up. So this is just a representative sample of what it might look like from the inside. It is a window that acts as a single hung. The lower sash will raise for ventilation, but it opens as a casement for egress. So you can open it quickly and have a wider opening in an emergency. The well, we've looked at a couple of other applications that have used this same well. It's a molded steel product made to look sort of stonish. This view doesn't ever show from the street anyway because it's essentially underground. About 4 inches, actually 3 inches of the top of the well is above grade. Again, same drawing that we've seen. I believe that this is a 4-foot deep well. The specs that are listed in the staff report are correct for the well and the width and the window dimensions. It's just the location that was incorrect in here. So it's currently certified as a rental for 4 occupants in 3 bedrooms. And if this room were to be made occupiable, I'm guessing it would go up to 5 occupants in 4 bedrooms. The window is 32 inches wide by 48 inches deep. The well is pre-molded powder-coated steel, extends 3 feet from the foundation, and is 5 feet deep. The well is the minimum size required for clearance by code to get out of the well. There is both a grate and a clear vinyl cover shown on the drawings. So originally, when I thought that we were just making another window bigger, I thought that this was pretty much a straightforward application. I do have some concerns since the wall is, an intact wall here. We don't usually encourage people to add new openings. At the same time, I don't think that this is such a special foundation wall. I think if this were a stone foundation, it would be a non-starter, and I would have just said from the beginning that I would recommend denial on this, but I don't think it's entirely unreasonable to ask the question about whether a 3rd basement window could be put in on this wall. So I've already read to you standards 2 and 9 and 10. From the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines for windows, recommended is designing and installing additional windows on rear or non-character defining elevations if required by the new use. New window openings may also be cut into party walls. Such design should be compatible with the overall design of the building, but not duplicate the fenestration pattern and detailing of a character defining elevation. Not recommended is introducing a new design that's incompatible with the historic character of the building. I don't believe that the design is incompatible because we already have replaced basement windows that have probably already been enlarged, so we don't know what they looked like originally to start with. Health and safety guidelines recommend identifying the historic building's character-defining spaces, features, and finishes so that code-required work will not result in their damage or loss. Let's see. So staff's recommendation is basically that this is probably an approvable application, though I certainly have some misgivings about encouraging the addition of a new egress window. One thing to keep in mind is that the building to the west, next door over here, is a new structure. It's not a contributing structure in the historic district. So any work on this house would not have a negative impact on a historic structure next door, for what that's worth. And there's a little bit more information in your packet if you're interested on the window. I believe that there's a profile of the window and some other general information. But I hope that you understand what's being asked for here, and please do ask me to clarify if you don't for any reason. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners Hall and White, would you give us your report and recommendations?
Yes. Well, first, when we visited the site, we were under the impression that this was to be reused. So it was being looked at in a sort of a different light. So I'm sort of digesting this as you all are. I can add that it would be pretty visible. There is a large tree there that would obstruct it in some instances from the sidewalk, but it is fairly visible. I don't think I have anything else to add. I'd like to kind of discuss this in the discussion category.
Review committee doesn't need to ever make a recommendation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
reading this.
so, yeah, just reporting conditions mostly, so thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner White?
Well, one of the things is that the building next door is a new structure, relatively new structure. So, that's the one that would be looking at that window. Other than that, I don't have anything to add.
All right, would the applicant please come forward, provide your name for the record, and please sign in. And if you have anything to add to the staff report of the review committee reports as well.
Hello, no, I have nothing to add.
And what's your name?
My name is Ayub Sarmasi.
All right. All right, are there any commissioners that have additional questions? I have one. Well, you're the owner, not the contractor.
Yes, I
right?
am.
So, on the photo can you go to the photo that might show where it might be installed? Yeah, somewhere in there. So, I guess you certainly have your choice of where you place it. And the windows themselves that are the existing windows that are there, you can tell that it stops at the end of one full block course. And then there's a half course above it. It's cut in half. So is your intention to make sure that wherever you add the new window, that it would line up with the end of a block somewhere? Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat what?
Yeah, so you see how there's mortar joints, vertical mortar joints?
Yeah.
And every time there's a vertical mortar joint, you can see like right here where the mouse is, the window ends at the end of this vertical mortar joint. So my expectation would be that when you put in the new window, you would stop at the end of one of the vertical mortar joints again.
I understand, yeah.
Yeah. Which is tricky because the saws are big and unwieldy. But you may have to cut it a little further in and then chip it away to get to that edge.
Yeah, I will make sure that the contractor will do it. Because it's going to be a permit and visitation from the city, right? They're gonna make sure that they are doing the right thing.
Well, that's the,
Yeah, but once the cut is made, the cut is made.
yeah.
Yeah, I will make
we
sure
can't go
that
back on
they
it.
cut it the right way because, yeah.
Yeah, the blocks are probably 16 inches wide, so 32 inches is the window. So it sounds like the math is working out where 2 blocks will be removed, 2 full blocks, and then there'll be half blocks above and below those 2 blocks. Those are the ones that will have to be cut,
Okay.
those blocks. I mean, that's if this 32-inch window does in fact fit into that opening, which it should.
Well, even at, is it the rough dimension that it shows here in the spec that it's 32? Or is it the blocking?
It just says a 32 by 48 window, which is probably,
It's probably the opening size, because this is a 32-inch opening that they're trying to match.
And then, oh, so that's the hole they're trying to
That's
make,
the
and they're
hole.
gonna fill it with a window.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And the contractor I talked to about installing a new window in a new opening, and they were on top of having to beef up the header and things after taking those blocks out to make sure it doesn't mess with the integrity of the surrounding wall.
Yeah, so the cut sheet that was submitted for the basement window systems, this only says 36-inch for a window size, and I just don't see one that's 32. But your
So-
contractor's not here, so.
Yeah, so the contractor submitted this page for the little well drawing.
Oh, for the drawing itself?
Yeah, and didn't specify one of these windows. So I believe that it's maybe a custom window or
Oh, so
something.
he liked the drawing,
Yeah.
but it looks like there's a Guardian glass submitted.
The window dimensions were via email on the next page.
32, 48.
Yeah. The well is 5 feet deep. And I realized that this was referring to making the window larger, but they're using that same dimension to match this existing window width.
Yeah. And it looks like, Commissioners, the information we have on the Guardian submittal in our packet is really just about the glass that's in the window. Doesn't tell us anything about the window itself. All right, well, are there any other questions for the application? For the applicant? Commissioner?
yeah. Ayub, I just want to be sure that there's no better location for where you're asking this. So we're looking at the west wall here. Yeah. Is there, Evan, Commissioner Hall, did you see is there, did you look around and is there another?
I don't think
Another
there's
spot in
another
his bedroom?
location.
No, that's the
Right.
best location we found.
So this bedroom doesn't have access to the east wall of the foundation wall of the house? Is that,
East wall is the
is a hallway or
driveway.
something? It's the driveway?
Yeah,
Oh, it could be the stairs, right?
yes,
It's probably the stairs.
exactly.
too,
They come from,
The stairs are on the
Utilities
east?
on the east
Okay.
Yes.
side also.
Utilities.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then on the north side,
on north
Is there
side, there
porch
is
or
a
something?
electrical mess, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
very
And
good.
then-
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
And the stairs on the east, they probably go to a door and a landing, but since this is a sleeping bedroom area, they need to have a window right,
It's
Well, they need
correct.
two
right
exits.
into
Two
it.
exits.
Yep.
Yes.
They need two
Right.
exits.
Yeah.
Only because of the bedroom trip. All right, any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I just have one more question. Similar, we were talking about the width of the window. The height is listed at 48, or 4 feet. What is the depth of the basement? My concern there is the egress window has to be placed at a maximum of 44 inches off the finished floor. And if it's 4 feet high, we could potentially end up with another block coursing above the window, which I think we'd actually want to try and get it as high to avoid that block coursing up above. So have you guys looked at what is the height of the
well, when I
basement?
called these guys, they said, hey, we have done it plenty of them, so we know what we are doing. Really, that's all I know.
Okay.
Based on that door there, it looks like if that's a 6'8" door, maybe
Yeah.
it's a 7 foot to the bottom of
Yeah.
the joist.
So
Yep.
So
we
that'd be
have
okay.
4.0,
They'd only be 3 feet off the ground.
yeah.
They're
So I
good.
think
They're good.
But that's a good question, thank you.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? All right, we'll move on to the public hearing. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this agenda item? I don't see anybody. Commissioners, any other additional questions? Probably not. All right, I will now close the public hearing portion of the application. You can be seated. Thank you.
Thank you.
And would any commissioners like to make a motion on the application? Commissioner Rockman.
Okay. I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 910 West Huron Street, a contributing property in the Old West Side Historic District, to install a new basement egress window in a new opening as proposed. The work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the rest of the building and the surrounding area, and meets the Ann Arbor Historic District guidelines, design guidelines, especially those for windows and safety codes, and the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular standards 2, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for windows, neighborhood setting, and health and safety.
Support.
Seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Rockland.
As I was reading it, I was wondering, do we put something in there about the coursing discussion that we had, or is it, is that not necessary? Just for discussion, what do you think?
I don't think it's necessary. I think
I
it's
don't
clear. He heard it. It's in the record.
Yeah, the owner knows about it.
Yeah.
We just don't know if the contractor will know about it.
Well.
You'll
it's
tell the
gonna be
contractor.
But it's the
inspected.
owner's, well, again, it doesn't matter if
He's
it's
gonna
inspected. We want to make sure that it's cut
Yeah.
in the right spot first.
Definitely, I will let him know,
Okay.
Yeah.
Works for me.
because he charged me $4,000 for 1 day job.
Yeah.
Okay.
I better do
You
it.
better do it right. Okay, thank you.
Any other
Money
discussions? Any other discussions on the motion? Commissioner Hall?
Seemingly everyone's fine with it, I guess. So-
Well, I don't know. I was going to just plug into the City of Ann Arbor guidelines part
Yeah.
that says not appropriate,
Yeah,
which is changing the number, location, and size of grading patterns of windows by cutting new openings, blocking in, or installing replacement sash which does not fit the historic opening. Yeah, so that's one. And then I'm looking at the Secretary of Interior standards. It says not recommended, introducing a new design that is incompatible with historic character. So, basement window, it's not terrifically about the design. It does this, let's look at the photo of the overall building. Those basement windows certainly are not the architectural character of the building, of the house, right?
Well, they're already removed.
right.
Yeah, they're removed, it's gone. But, there's other features of the house that really define it, more than the basement windows perhaps. So,
The size has changed of
the size of the change
the
of the
glass
original
block
ones.
already.
And there's safety and health. That's the reason we're doing this egress window.
Yeah. There's safety and health issues. Your mic's on? Yeah, your mic's on. Any other discussion? I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I believe that the historic character of the house will be retained, and
Yeah.
we will fulfill a life safety requirement. I mean, it's not like this home is owed a legal bedroom in its basement, but the homeowner is asking for that. And so I don't see I don't see a reason to, personally, that I would vote against it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would probably bring up the health and safety aspect of the Secretary of Interior's guidelines that mention, the health and safety recommended, identifying the historic building's character-defining spaces, features, and finishes so that code-required work will not result in their damage or loss. I don't see a whole lot of damage and loss being done to the historic building's character-defining features. So that, to me, is the major.
I would add that
component.
if another homeowner, if this homeowner wants to remove what they're doing, they could take bricks or blocks from the rear of the house and move them.
Fill it back
This is
in.
visible here, but if they wanted to get rid of it, they could get blocks from the back of the house and move them in and match them perfectly.
Yeah.
And it could probably disappear entirely if they wanted to.
You can challenge his contractor to try and save as much of the block as possible. Good luck.
That's an extra,
It's an extra $2,000. Yeah. All right, any other discussion? Okay. Let's move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries. Your application has been approved, and you will receive written notification from staff. Please note that you must apply for any required permits from the city before beginning your project.
Thank
you
very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Am I dismissed?
Yep.
Yes.
Twice a minute.
All right, now we're moving on to F3, which is 724 West Jefferson Avenue, addition to garage. Ms. Thatcher.
This garage is built behind a two-story brick home built by Mason Ludwig Lucas. First appears in the 1910 Polk City Directory. Features a full-width stone front porch with brick columns, a hipped roof, an attic dormer, and original wood windows. In September of 2013, the HTC granted 2 certificates of appropriateness for a rear addition and a rear opening and rear door and skylight. The addition was never constructed, and that approval has since expired. House is on the north side of West Jefferson between 5th and 7th Streets and opposite 6th. It backs up to Ba Elementary's big playground. The applicant is seeking HTC approval to put a 151 square foot addition on a detached garage located near the rear of the lot and perform repairs to the historic structure. And here it is. Mr. Lucas, who built the house, is rumored to have lived in this garage, built it first and lived in it while he was building the house. I don't know if that's true or not, but that story persists. This is the front. You can see it's got one bay for a car and a person door over here. Doesn't look like it ever had another car stall on this side. This is the, let's see, if this is facing south, then this is facing east. And there's another person door over here, a couple of double hung wood windows. Some of the glass was out, but the plan is to repair the doors and windows and selectively replace as needed the different elements of them. Here's the back of the structure. It's got a garage. It is a garage. It's got a chimney, and part of the proposal is to extend the chimney and use it for a wood stove, but it would need to be taller in order to meet current codes. And the addition would come right off the back of this hipped roof, inset 8 inches at the corner. This masonry wall in the back would remain. An opening would be enlarged here to get into a bathroom, and then the other side of the addition on the back would be used for shed-type storage. Another view of the same rear elevation. And here's the front and the west side, 2 windows. Cute, stucco, needs some repairs, but overall in pretty good shape. The inside is kind of interesting. It's plumbed. I don't know if the water's working or not, but it looks like it has had a sink. Needs some repairs on these doors. This side is held together with lots and lots of metal straps that have been painted over so they don't look so bad. But as you can see, the doors don't fit together very well. They'd like to finish the space to make it sort of three-season use, family room-ish, but not heated, so not occupiable in the winter. And by code, it could never be something that someone could live in, sleep in, but there's no reason that you couldn't use it for a party or to throw your kids out back or something like that, or use it as a home office or whatever you want to. The garage is really far back on a really deep lot. I can't even read these dimensions. I think it's about 200 and something feet. So when you're on West Jefferson, this is off in the distance, way behind the house. Here's the footprint of the garage, the existing footprint, door in the front, person door in the front, person door on the side, and very straightforward inset addition, off the rear, meets setbacks for zoning. Got a bathroom here that you can get into from the inside, got a storage room here that you cannot get into from the inside. This is the existing footprint. It already is divided into 2 rooms. Existing elevations, I've already shown you all of those photos. Proposed, super, super simple, straightforward. Here's the door to get into the storage area. The roof ridge is lower, the corners are inset. One little window on the side here for the powder room for ventilation. It's 151 square feet, 18 feet 10 inches by 8 feet deep. You see the chimney extension there up on the top. 2 skylights are proposed here on the side of the original roof. From the Secretary of Interior, guidelines for additions recommend is locating the attached exterior addition at the rear or on an inconspicuous side of the historic building, limiting its size and scale in relationship to the historic building. From the guidelines for building site, not recommended is radically changing buildings and their features which are important in defining the overall historic character of the building, so that as a result the character is diminished. I don't believe that it does this. From the Ann Arbor Historic District Design Guidelines for additions, it's appropriate to put a new addition on a non-character defining or inconspicuous elevation, limiting the size and scale in relation to the historic property and placing new walls in a different plane from the historic structure in a subordinate position to the historic fabric, all of which they have done here. So let me buzz back up to the, so this is the side where the skylights, skylights are proposed. We won't even be able to see it from the street, it's so far back. I didn't read to you the Secretary of Interior standards. You've already heard 2, 9, and 10, but number 5 says that distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize a property shall be preserved. So staff does believe that the design of the addition is compatible with the garage and neighborhood, will be minimally visible from the street, and is sensitive to the character of the historic garage. Staff believes the work generally meets the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines and the Secretary of the Interior's guidelines and standards for rehabilitation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Thatcher. Commissioners Hall and White, please give us your report.
I agree completely with the staff's findings. I think the only thing that I would add is really the only place you really would be able to view this would be if you're in, this backs up to the playground. That's the fence for it. I think you see there in the background. So when you're in that playground space, you'd be able to see it, but you wouldn't be able to see it otherwise, I don't believe. So very straightforward, and I agree with the staff findings.
All right, Commissioner White.
I agree with Ms. Thatcher and Commissioner Hall, and I support this project.
All right, would the applicant please come forward, provide your name for the record, and sign in. And then if you have anything to add to the staff report or review committee.
Hi, I'm Brent Richards, and that's my wife Melissa over there, and son Heath. No, I don't have anything to add. I'm just here if you have questions.
All right, any questions from commissioners? Thought I
Good
had one,
questions.
and then I forgot. I guess I had some questions for the, I guess it was a little bit of the review committee, but also the owner. So this is was it always been stucco? Has it always been stucco? Do we know?
As far as we know.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's kind of a rare
Yeah, I don't know. the
bird
answer to that
back
either.
there.
No, the story that Jill said about the original owner living in it, is what we were told from
Yeah.
the person we bought it from, so, who was the second owner of the house.
And then I had a question about the chimney addition, but I saw in the drawings that Mark Rieger covered it pretty clearly. He's just going to add a kind of a flue on the top. I was wondering if that was going to be brick or not, but it looks like it's a separate thing, which
Yeah.
that makes me happy too. But other than that, I don't have any questions. Anyone else? Any other commissioners have questions? No?
Good,
Do
good.
you have anything to say?
Okay.
No?
No, I don't know, probably.
You might, yeah. Let's not give him the chance. All right, moving on to the public hearing. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on this agenda item? I don't see anyone. Any additional questions? No. I will now close the public hearing portion of the application, and the applicant may please be seated. Would any commissioner like to make a motion on this application? Commissioner Hall?
Sure. I move that the commission issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 724 West Jefferson Street, a contributing property in the Old West Side Historic District, to build a 151 square foot addition on the rear of the garage as proposed. The work is compatible in exterior design, arrangement, texture, material, and relationship to the rest of the building and the surrounding area, and meets the Secretary of Interior's standards for rehabilitation and guidelines for rehabilitating historic buildings, in particular, standards 2, 5, 9, and 10, and the guidelines for additions in building site, and the Ann Arbor Historic District design guidelines for additions.
Support.
Seconded by Commissioner White. Is there any discussion on the motion? No?
I'll say something.
Okay, go for it. Commissioner Rock.
Sure. I agree with what's been said already, and I guess I'll just add that because this structure is stucco and because they're appropriately keeping the stucco treatment and rehabilitating it even, it makes the addition very easy to differentiate. I mean, I'll say easy, but the designer did a good job differentiating the addition, and the scale and size is, I guess I'd say, sort of textbook addition for what we've seen, and so I guess that's why I'm agreeing with everything I've heard so far.
Yep. I'm kind of excited to look at this structure and see how old it is, and then see that the fascia board across the front is straight. You know, it's just, you don't see that a lot on old garages in the back. It's like straight. All right, any other discussion? All right, I'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries. Your application has been approved, and you will receive written notification from staff. Please note that you must apply for any required permits from the city before you start your project. All right, thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is new business. We have G1, HTC Awards Committee appointment. Yeah.
There's a handout at your seat, short memo. Every year at this time, we reappoint the awards committee members. They're listed on here. There are no changes from last year. It's Susan Weinberg, Grace Shackman, Ellen Ramsberg, Patricia Austin, Louisa Piper, Tom Stolberg, Fran Wright, Christy Gilbert, and Patrick McCauley. At least 3, 4, 5 of whom have been HDC members in the past, but there is no current HDC commissioner on this committee, and the bylaws state that we do need to have between 1 and 3 commissioners.
I'd like to nominate
as a member.
one.
All right.
Commissioner White?
I'd like to nominate Anna Epperson to recommend, and any other 2 more people can join that committee if they would like.
Commissioner Cope?
Second.
Commissioner Cope might be on it, I don't know.
Anna, are you interested?
Yes.
A, and able, B. They do meet during the day, so you're aware of that.
That's Monday, April 16th, is that correct?
Yes, there's a
the
large
first one.
meeting on Monday for about 4 hours from 9 to 1. If you couldn't make that van tour, we would just possibly catch you up
Okay.
after the fact, sort of. But if you're interested,
Yes,
we
I am.
we would certainly appreciate
fine.
it.
I can do that.
Great.
Happy to do so.
Great. So if someone could make a motion to approve this membership of the committee plus Commissioner Epperson, that would be great.
I make a motion that we approve the awards committee membership, plus our new commissioner joining that committee, Anna Epperson.
Second.
And Max, or?
Oh, and Max Cope.
Or Max Cope.
Nah,
Yeah,
don't put
we
Max in,
got-
he's already Cobblestone Farm, you
Oh,
can't.
yeah.
All right.
So that was Bob and John. Take a vote.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'll move to, or I don't need to move it. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right.
Thanks, Anna.
G2, HTC meeting schedule, 2018-2019, also in our packets.
Yep, new meeting schedule is here. You do need to adopt this schedule. There's only one weird meeting date. August 16th is moved due to probably an election day, probably an election primary, I'm guessing. That's the only meeting date that's altered from the second Thursday. There are a couple of a due date and a review committee date that are adjusted because of holidays, but it's not as wacky this year as it's been in past years.
So the 16th is already changed, you're saying that's the,
Yep,
okay.
yep, it's, yeah.
So I noticed that a few of these had shown up on my
How
calendar.
did you get that?
Is that
Yes, it was in
something
there.
that Mia
It was
done?
in my packet.
She may have, yeah.
I got mine.
Yeah.
ones have already shown up?
Yeah, the HTC one. Not the future ones, but just the ones that are on, I just, I get
The ones
the
from
page, I'm
last
like,
year.
oh, there's one.
Yeah.
She, yeah, I don't know, would you
Maybe
guys
it's under the
like
news.
her to invite you via
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
Outlook?
Yeah.
Because she has to invite me anyway, so she could just have all of
Just,
you.
yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Done that in the past.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, great, 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 great. Okay, good. I will tell her that you appreciate that.
Mhm.
All right, do we need to do anything about this? Do we
Yep, you
need to-
need to move it and support it. and-
All right, do we have a motion on this meeting schedule? Anyone like to make a motion?
Sure, I move to approve this July 2018, June 2019 meeting schedule.
Support.
All right, move for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries.
Okay.
The next item is the MHPN tax credit resolution.
MHPN is asking local historic organizations to help them raise awareness and support for House and Senate bills that are going through to reinstate state historic tax credits. From my lens, this is nothing but good, and I hope that you'll feel the same. They've included, and I've handed out a sample resolution. You by no means have to use this resolution, but it's their way of explaining everything to you that they would like to point out. They like the endorsement of the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission. It's not so much they'd like the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission to ask City Council. We're asking them, City Council, that separately.
Oh,
They're
Okay.
also getting
I'm just getting more
this,
numbers.
and we're asking them.
we're not asking.
We're not asking
City
City Council, we're endorsing
Endorsing
the bill, if, should you choose to do that.
So that they can say, this is endorsed by the Ann Arbor
Yeah,
Historic
we have the
District
support of the
Commission.
Ann Arbor Historic
Yes,
District
okay.
Commission. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And then what would City Council do with it
same thing,
on their own? They would endorse it
same thing,
separately.
yeah,
Okay.
hopefully,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I'm going to highlight some areas of it that I think are important for the public at home that are listening in. So this resolution, it goes through the typical things about historic preservation, saying that such things as, whereas the preservation and rehabilitation of historic buildings, places, and neighborhoods contribute to the beauty, character, and economic vitality of Michigan communities. And then there's one that occurs further down, which I think is a really cool one to highlight. Whereas each dollar of credit issued leverages $11.37 in direct economic impact, such that the former Michigan Historic Tax Credit programs during their 12-year history have leveraged $251 million in federal historic tax credits that otherwise would not have returned to Michigan, spurring $1.46 billion in direct rehabilitation activity and created 36,000 jobs. And whereas the Michigan legislature is presently considering Senate Bill 469 and House Bill 5178 that would reinstate up to 25% investment tax credit for owners of historic residential and commercial properties who substantially rehabilitate their properties. think it's important for those that are out there to know.
That would be phenomenal to get
Yes.
a residential 25% tax credit.
We'd be very busy, I think. If that passed, we'll have
That'd
longer
be-
meetings.
That'd be good,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, it really shows that every dollar you spend to kind of rehabilitate the building really reinvigorates the local economy and contributes constantly. Not to mention all the materials and embodied energy that went into making those structures and the craft and character and beauty of all.
Well, I recommend that we endorse CT and
Do we have to make a motion? Is that what we have to do?
Yeah, someone needs to make a motion, and unfortunately, since this wasn't in the packet, I believe someone has to read it.
Whoa,
Yeah, so
should have known that ahead of time.
Commissioner Beeson, get to work.
All right, for all those audience members, here we go. So do I have to make the motion first and then read the resolution?
yeah, make a motion.
All right, so I move that the the Ann Arbor Historic District
Just add like-
supports the resolution
Yeah, and then.
of the reinstatement of state historic tax credits, Senate Bill 469, House Bill 5178. Whereas, here we go. The historic buildings, neighborhoods, and places in Michigan villages, towns, and cities distinguish each community and provide character and a sense of place that contribute significantly to the quality of life and the economic benefits enjoyed in and by each community. And whereas the preservation and rehabilitation of historic buildings, places, and neighborhoods contribute to the beauty, character, and economic vitality of Michigan communities. And whereas the labor-intensive nature of historic rehabilitation creates jobs and investment in local businesses and is proven to generate more economic activity than equivalent investment in new construction. And whereas demolition or deconstruction of historic buildings create costs to Michigan and its communities by destroying the often irreplaceable construction and ornamental materials of each structure, and by adding significantly to landfills, whose makeup is estimated to be more than 40% building materials and waste. And whereas development and redevelopment within established villages, townships, and cities is encouraged by Governor Rick Snyder's 10-point program to reinvent Michigan that includes goals to restore our cities, protect our environment, create more and better jobs. And whereas many public policies and financial and lending practices and policies create disincentives or barriers to preservation, renovation, and rehabilitation of historic buildings and resources, and create a preferential financial environment for new construction. And whereas Michigan has measured the economic impacts of the former Michigan Historic Tax Credit programs between their enactment in 1999 and their elimination in 2011, and seen significant positive direct impacts on the revitalization of neighborhoods and communities, the preservation and creation of affordable and market rate housing, the creation of skilled local jobs, and the subsequent private investment in areas surrounding tax credit-driven revitalization projects. And whereas each dollar of credit issued leverages $11.37 in direct economic impact, such that the former Michigan Historic Tax Credit programs during their 12-year history have leveraged $251 million in federal historic tax credits that otherwise would not have returned to Michigan, spurred $1.46 million in direct rehabilitation activity, and created 36,000 jobs. And whereas the Michigan legislature is presently considering Senate Bill 469 and House Bill 5178 that would reinstate up to 25% investment tax credit for owners of historic residential and commercial properties who substantially rehabilitate the properties. Now therefore it has been resolved that, do I have to read that part too? Now therefore be it resolved that the Ann Arbor Historic District Commission of the City of Ann Arbor endorses and supports both Senate Bill 469 and House Bill 5178 and calls upon the Michigan legislature to pass this important legislation and Governor Snyder to sign it in order to stimulate appropriate development and redevelopment and protect the historic character and quality of our life of our communities. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Michigan Historic Preservation Network.
Support.
Do we have to sign it?
No, you just have to ask for discussion.
Oh, okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. I think we have the February and March packets in front of us, right?
Yep.
Are there any additions, deletions, or changes that anyone sees? No.
Without objections.
Oh, yeah. Where is I? All right, without objection, the
Minutes are,
minutes are approved from March and February 2018. All right. Approval of the minutes. Now we're on to reports from commissioners. Any reports from commissioners? Seeing none. All right, assignments. This is for the May 7th, 5 PM review committee. Checking my calendar. Don't think there's anything.
I can do it.
Great. Adam?
I can do it.
And on John, thank you.
It's away at 5 PM.
Yes. You make that?
Yeah, I think I can still do
Okay.
that. All right. All right, next is K, reports from staff. 2018 HTC staff activities is in front of us. Ms. Thatcher.
There's nothing very interesting on the staff approvals list this month. There's a,
I see an inline mini split.
yeah, it's work that was installed 6 or 7 years ago without
Oh.
permits. And a subsequent owner got dinged for it, and he was doing makeup work after the fact. It's fine. It's
Wow.
the gutters and lines that are on the ground along the foundation, they're not going up the wall.
All right. How's your minutes got new roof shingles?
Yeah.
All right. Any concerns of commissioners? None. How about communications, various communications to the HTC?
To communications, you have Old West Side News at your seat. And you received from the Ypsilanti Historical Society a tribute to Nat and Bill Edmonds. Please join us Sunday, May 6th at the Ladies Literary Club, program at 2:30. If anyone's interested, I'm going to pass that around. That's it.
Okay. All right. There being no further business, and without objection, I adjourn the April 12th, 2018 Ann Arbor Historic District Committee meeting.